Final one ahead of the August elections. Thank you for staying with us, sir.
Thank you.
You are former finance minister. Economic growth average of 5.9%, government debt of 50% of the GDP. But the president says Kenya can pay her debts comfortably. What is your analysis of this?
Well, I think it's unfortunate that the president is not taking this thing as seriously as it should be taken. Because the reality of the matter here is that for an economy of our size, when you say you have a growth rate of about 5.6 or 5.8%, and then your public debt is at about 50% of GDP, in fact, slightly more, and you say there's nothing wrong, then that is a serious understatement of the real situation. First of all, one fundamental issue that comes out is that to service that public debt requires a lot of public borrowing. And right now, we have been seen, and it's advertised in the papers, the government has been putting out notices for either bonds or bills requiring to raise maybe 10 billion or something, and then they get offers of 35 billion. Now, this tells you that the person who has the largest appetite to get money from the system is the government. All right? That is not good at all. Secondly, the central bank itself and even the National Statistics Bureau has said that the credit expansion in our economy has shrunk, which means the whole philosophy that may have informed President Uhuru Kenyatta to sign the capping of interest rates so that the money can go to Wanjiko in the businesses. We are now seeing exactly the opposite.
All right.
Credit expansion has shrunk. And if credit expansion has shrunk, then that means it's only the government that is taking the money from the people.
All right.
The other way to quickly fill this situation is that it will either lead to more borrowing, and inevitably it's going to lead to more taxation. All right.
Your alliance, the National Super Alliance, has been campaigning on a lot of issues. One of them has been the issue of the public debt, saying, quoting some numbers as being the amount of money that every child that is being born in Kenya is born as debt. Haven't you been, blowing it over the top a bit?
No, we have not been blowing it over the top. We are actually forewarning Kenyans that there is a serious problem. And I can tell you, when the NASA government takes over in August this year, one of the biggest challenges is going to be the strategy on debt reduction and debt management. Because the reality is that it's not enough to tell us that I've borrowed this money to invest in infrastructure, all right? What is the structure of that debt? How much of it is commercial and therefore affecting interest rates? How much of it is concessionary so that it is a long-term debt? But what we have seen, a lot of the mega projects that the government is undertaking is on commercial borrowing.
All right.
That is very painful to the Kenyan people.
All right. So
and then the question is, do we have value for money in the context of what is the actual cost of some of these projects? Because when you look at the SGR, which is a pet subject they use there, we have not really been told clearly who did the feasibility studies and so forth. Is it one organization? Was it a complete turnkey project? Who is assessing that we have value for money?
All right. Yeah. Speaking about the SGR, let's talk about it. It's the Jubilee administration's pet project. What are the big issues that you have with the SGR project?
I think the big issue here is that we need to be told very clearly that are they satisfied that the cost of this project comparatively to what is the investment of similar programs in places like Ethiopia or even in Northern Africa, Morocco, and this has come up quite often in the media. Are they satisfied that these are reasonably comparative figures? What will happen when a public audit will be done eventually?
All right. All right. Let's talk about devolution.
Yes.
According to the report, according to the address by the president earlier this afternoon, revenue sharing is up from 15% to 32%. Devolution is another big pillar of your campaign as your opposition. What is your take on how Jubilee has handled matters devolution?
First of all, we will want to make the figure that goes to the devolved counties much higher than that. We would like to see a ratio of about 40% of the national revenues. That is what we'd want to do. But nevertheless, there'll be need for some verification of some of these statistics. But let me tell you, the Jubilee government has been a reluctant partner on matters devolution. They have not been very supportive to aspects of devolution. The health sector is a classic example. In the health sector, the said functions have gone to the county governments, but they never released the corresponding resources, financial resources, to back up what went to the county governments. They said there was equipment being supplied, equipment that was never even identified in terms of what are the needs of the various counties. It was a blanket arrangement. So the whole procurement process remains with the national government. And then these guys are told, you go and handle these functions.
Right.
That is one factor that this government has shown as a reluctant partner on matters of devolution. A more classic example, you do not say you're supporting devolution, and then we see the kind of spats we have seen in public between the president and the governor of Turkana, who was simply asking for some rationality in terms of sharing of oil.
Some would say that is a political contest that had other forces like the opposition leaders in it.
I think, and then the other side of it, let me also put it, if you do not want Joho at your function, why don't you just call him and tell him, don't come to my function? You don't go and put the guy under office arrest in his own county. I mean, we are talking of issues of security here, and we are talking of having done very well in ensuring that the ratio of the policeman to the population is at 1 policeman to 380 people.
Yes.
And the international standards are 1 to 400 people, which means you're doing very well. Now, if you're doing very well, is this ratio supposed to be keeping people under office arrest? Or is it supposed to be helping in dealing with the Baringo problem?
Yes, good point. And that is my final question to you, sir. The issue of insecurity, a lot has been happening in the north. Yet from the president's speech, we found out that, like you mentioned, the ratio of police officer to citizen is up to 1 to 380, way over what is required, the threshold by the United Nations. What is the analysis of insecurity in this country?
It's not in good shape at this point in time. And it is worrying, and it should be dealt with quickly and efficiently, because we are heading to a general election. All right? And whatever the factors are, whether it is drought-related or whether it is politically instigated, like what you have seen in Baringo, what we may be seeing in some parts of Laikipia and other areas, the government must make sure that this does not spiral into other areas. And we are watching very carefully, because as you declare these areas as areas under emergency, and we are heading to an election, we start worrying as a people that let it be genuine in terms of dealing with the insecurity. Because it would be unfortunate if we can have some closed counties, and then on the basis of that, people are unable to exercise their democratic rights
to vote. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Musalia Mudavadi, National Super Alliance co-principal and leader of the Almani National Congress, former vice president, just giving us his perspectives on the State of the Nation address. That continues. We have more.